Hello everybody, welcome to episode 10 of Radio Europa. My name's Laura, I'm your host from over in England, and today we're with Alex from Italy and Darth from Scotland. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, what's up?
Hi there, how you doing?
Good, thank you. Okay, so today we're going to focus on one topic, and we're going to talk about the Swedish election, which is coming up on the 9th of September, I believe. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of the current situation. So Swedish politics it's a little bit, it's very different to like British politics, where there's kind of the main party and then there's the opposition. There's lots of parties in Sweden, so they have a proportional or representative democracy, and there are 349 seats that are in offer in their government, and the share of the seats that you get depends on basically how many votes you get. So they are currently split out between 8 parties. The largest party there is the Social Democrats, who are obviously headed up by Stefan Löfven, the current Prime Minister of Sweden. We've also got the Left Party and the Green Party, who work with Stefan Löfven on his policies. And then a little bit further to the right, we have the Centre Party, the Liberal Party, the Moderates and the Christian Democrats, who are kind of like your centre-right parties. They campaigned together as one group, which was, I believe, called the Alliance for Sweden at the last election, which was 2014. But obviously they didn't get as many seats as the Social Democrats and their colleagues. And we've also got the Sweden Democrats, who have got positions in the Swedish government as well. They got 49 seats, but a few people have left, so they've now got 42 seats. So this election has come at a very crucial time for Sweden. They have admitted 600,000 refugees since 2013, which is a huge number for a country that has a population of less than 10 million people. The native Swedes in Sweden currently make up less than 70% of the population. As far as I know, it's the worst country in Europe demographically for the proportion of native inhabitants that live there. And that figure is actually dropping 1% per year. So as I say, this election's come at a very crucial time. So I'm gonna pass over to Alex, and we're going to talk about 3 parties today. But Alex, can you give us an overview of the first two and your thoughts on the first two? So we've got the Sweden Democrats and the Alternative for Sweden.
Yes, with pleasure. So most people probably know who the Swedish Democrats are. They're like the classic conservative center-right party, you know, which usually have, you know, the classic basic position on immigration, saying that, you know, illegal immigration bad, legal immigration yay, which in a country like Sweden, as you just explained, cannot be the solution. Even if tomorrow Sweden will stop taking in refugees, and in a way they have, I mean, they decrease the numbers, it's not going to fix the problem. So while in a way I appreciate what the Swedish Democrats are doing, because they are showing to the, you know, young Swedes, but all Swedes, that there is an alternative to, you know, the classic liberal left, open borders and bullshit like that. At the same time, I believe they're a bit too moderate on the situation. But yes, they can be a start, and likely they're going to be the first party among the right wing, I guess, the Swedish right wing. But Alternative for Sweden, in my opinion, which is a recently formed party, is the best choice for a nationalist. And when I say a nationalist, I mean someone who actually realizes how dangerous the population replacement problem is, especially in a country like Sweden. And it's important to note the fact that Alternative for Sweden is a party that was born or created after some people were basically kicked out of the Swedish Democrats for being quote-unquote too radical. And kind of shows what kind of party SD is. In a way, it kind of reminds me of Forza Italia in Italy, which is basically the party of Berlusconi. They're liberals, but conservative on certain things, and or like the conservatives in England, you know, which sometimes I think it's an offense to call them conservative, because they truly aren't. And Swedish Democrats are very similar to that. Whereas Alternative Sweden is actually talking about topics that are quite innovative in a way, especially in a market of opinions like Sweden. Basically, they're talking about identity. They are talking about remigration, and they're specifically talking about their immigration as the term, okay? And like just today, they had like a small stand. They were like, I believe, at an airport or maybe a train station near the departure area, talking about how they want to deport hundreds and hundreds and probably thousands of illegals. So their rhetoric is quite open and strong. And in a way, it kind of reminds me of Matteo Salvini's Lega. And they're getting a lot of heat, of course, in Sweden, because you see, Sweden is not Italy. The average Swede is still very, I guess, brainwashed by the classic social democrat way of life. But honestly, comparing the two parties, I think that Alternative for Sweden has viable options to actually fix the country in the long run. Whereas SD, even if they succeed and, pull down the social democrat government, they're going to become like, basically choose a slower death. But if you have to choose between a fast or slower death, in either case, you're going to die. Your country is going to die. Your identity, your people, your culture, everything is going to be gone, no matter how long it takes. And the same thing goes all around Europe. All those moderate right-wing parties, as a nationalist, I do not see them as friends. I do not see them as allies, and nobody should. So yes, if you're a nationalist and you're listening and you're from Sweden and you haven't picked that side, go for Alternative for Sweden, because it's very important that they reach the 4% to actually enter the parliament.
Yeah, so as Alex just said at the end there, you have to get 4% in order to get a seat in the parliament. So I think the AFS are currently polling at around 2 to 3%. And the Sweden Democrats over the last couple of months have been polling in between first and third place, which is, I mean, it's fantastic that the people of Sweden seem to be leaning towards an anti-immigration kind of identity-focused party. But I mean, the issue that we've got there then, Alex, is that the Sweden Democrats have got a really good chance to do well, whereas the AFS might not even hit the 4% mark. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think maybe we should all just chip in behind the AFS anyway and go for it and, just see how well they do? Or, I mean, if we voted for them and then the Sweden Democrats were missing by a few and the Social Democrats ended up back in power again, that would be a nightmare, wouldn't it?
I don't know, because personally, as I already said, the Swedish Democrats are like not a cure. Let's say that Sweden is sick, okay? And we're looking for a medicine. Maybe the Swedish Democrats can slow down the pain. They're painkillers, but painkillers don't remove sickness forever. They just don't make you feel pain for a while. And in a way, I believe SD is like that. So if we have to, I mean, we're not Swedish, but if the Swedes have to endure for, I don't know, it's 4 or 5 years of more social democrat government to actually wake up and in the meantime empower a party with actually good ideas, I'll say it's worth it. Just look at Italy, okay? Italy before this year, so it's like now we are like leading, the so-called anti-liberal revolution. But before 2018, Italy spent 7 years under these weird coalitions led by leftists and technicians, basically doing whatever the EU wanted. And it kind of looked like it was a nightmare that was never ending, but it did. It doesn't take that much to wake up people. And sometimes suffering actually helps. So if one more election must be lost to save Sweden, so be it.
Okay, and just a couple of other things to mention about the Sweden Democrats, because I read their manifesto and I was like, this is fantastic, because they talk about offering cash incentives for migrants to return to their home countries, and they want to change permanent visas to temporary ones and offer the Swedish population a vote on the membership of the European Union. But all the research that I've done since then has definitely put me off them. So the leader of the party, Akison, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, he said, "We are in favour of an open Swedish identity in which anyone can actually become Swedish." So I completely get what you're saying about... it's
cucked. It's the classic conservative point of view. Like, it's... Give Sweden 10 years and they're going to have like the conservatives saying, oh, the social democrats are the real racist. It's just the natural evolution of the conservative. I mean, just look at America and that's our future in 20, 30 years. It's a nightmare. And I really don't want to see this in Europe.
Yeah. Okay, so the third and final party, which I'd like to speak about, is the Nordic resistance movement. And the reason why I'd like to speak about these is because I ran a poll on our Twitter account a few days ago, and I said, who would you vote for if you were in Sweden? And I put the Sweden Democrats and the AFS as two options. And then I wrote other underneath. And there was just an absolute ton of comments saying the Nordic resistance movement. Also, my article that I published about the Sweden election, all the comments underneath that are also supporting the Nordic resistance movement. So we want to talk about them because our followers are interested in them, but also because they have some policies of interest. So the Nordic resistance movement are an openly national socialist party. They support complete closed borders and a Nordic ethno-state. You've probably seen them on protests and demonstrations. They carry the big green and black flags with the tear rune on them, which stands for balance. And I think it's sacrifice of the individual for the good of the state, which is what their logo stands for. Some of their policies include things like stopping mass immigration, starting repatriation for non-Nordic people, regaining power from the Zionist elite, connecting with nature, and creating a national socialist society. So one thing that we need to mention when we talk about the Nordic resistance movement is that the media absolutely hate them, and they call them neo-Nazis, and there's been quite a few incidences involving violence where the media have taken the side of the other people, not the Nordic resistance movement, and they don't support the Nordic resistance movement at all. So some of this stuff is quite serious, but we're going to talk about it. There was a guy who walked past a Nordic resistance movement demonstration, and I think he spat on one of the Nordic resistance movement guys, and the Nordic resistance movement guy kicked him. He ended up in hospital. He checked himself out, and he was doing some drugs and things like that and not looking after himself, and he ended up dying. So the media tried to frame that as murder, even though it was retaliation. And it didn't get pinned as murder because the guy checked himself out of hospital. But there's been another couple of incidents where they have radicalised members that have... there was one incident where two members, I think, or was it one, plotted to murder two journalists, and they've been arrested and sentenced to time in prison, I believe, for doing that. And then there's also another incident where three members of the Nordic resistance movement went to plant 3 bombs in Gothenburg in Sweden. But I mean, in all these cases, the district court has ruled that these incidents are nothing to do with the party as a whole. They're just to do with their individual members. And I just think that parties like this, they are going to attract radicalised young men. I don't think you can blame the party. I think you need to look at the individuals. What are your thoughts on this? Because if we were native Swedish people and we were in Sweden and this party was in power, these policies that they have would reverse the great replacement the quickest and be the healthiest for us as native Swedish people. But
on the right path, because the fact that
violence of the members
men
and
in the movement, and I believe also in the leadership are Nordicist.
Probably not white.
I don't know how it can work out now in this time of crisis all around Europe. You know, I believe that they need also the help of other nationalist parties. They need I personally believe in a future where there is no longer any kind of European Union, but there is some kind of European alliance. Because if you think about it, Europe and European people, if they want to actually matter in the world, they have to work together. Maybe even with Russia, but they have to work together. Or America, or China, or maybe even Russia, they will overcome us. So while we need to remove the shackles of the European Union, we do need to work together. And if a country or an entire region like Scandinavia is taking a Nordicist position, I don't know how that can work out, because I repeat, for them, I mean, not them, I don't want to generalize all members, but many members, and I know some of them. Marrying out of Sweden is basically like, I'm not saying marrying a non-white, but very close to that. And I think it's a bit too far. Maybe I'm too moderate, I don't know, but compared to the crisis that Sweden and all Europe is enduring, I don't think we should focus on that. I do believe that anyone should struggle to find their mate in their area, with their people, because European diversity is very important, and I'm a strong supporter of that. But going from there to saying that marrying a non-Swedish is literally a crime, I don't know, man. Like, it seems too far. But beyond that, they should just focus on defending their identity and not look into to like the bad guys, because I that's the look they have, and I'm sure they enjoy it because, of course, the media is going to portray them in a certain way. But in my opinion, they kind of like the fact that they're playing the role of the bad guys. So I don't think they're evil. I don't think that they're as bad as the media portrays them, but I wouldn't support them because, as you said, certain members, even though they're not ordered around by the party to do certain things, certain members have done certain things that cannot be supported, and they do attract social outcasts and things like that. Like all radical parties, this comes from the right or the left, they do attract some weird people. So I'm not too much a fan of them, and I'm still gonna go with Alternative for Sweden. I think they're the best choice.
Okay. The thing that I wanted to do with the Nordic resistance movement was because I'd only read about them in the mainstream media, who obviously hate them, as I said. So I went to their website and I read some of their policies, listened to their podcasts, and I spoke to a few of their members, and I asked them about the violence, and I said, I mean, it was like one of those conversations where it's kind of like, you know, you can be open with each other. We're on the same side. We're fighting for Europe. And I said, do you guys, what do you guys think about this violence? And they said that if anybody is involved with any violence or any crime that's not self-defense, then they're immediately thrown out of the party. And also, if you do things like drugs and stuff like that, you're immediately thrown out of the party. Darth, you've not spoken yet. What are your thoughts on the Nordic resistance movement? Or, I mean, feel free to talk about all three parties if you like. What are you thinking?
The thing that kind of strikes me most is when you have, and this is across Europe, when you have a continuing, from what I can see, just a willful ignorance of problems which develop and have been developing over probably the last 2 decades, and more so in the last kind of 6 or 7 years, especially with the migrant issue. When you have governments who appear to be willfully ignoring the problems for the sake of quote-unquote diversity, you're going to breed animosity, you're going to breed anger, you're going to breed discourse among the population. Especially the population who don't agree with it, but who put up with it because, you know, and if you live in a democracy, you have to be willing to accept some things that you don't agree with. But when it gets to the point now where we are effectively being told this is happening whether you like it or not, and if you don't go along with it, you will be criminalised, then you're going to have parties like the Nordic Resistance who take things to the extreme, because it's the only way that they can see the problem being sorted, by taking a radical, or in some ways a radical steps to fix the problem, which goes beyond what most people would consider to be the normal way of fixing problems. But like Alex has said, you know, a kind of centre-right party will only kind of slow down the problem which Europe is experiencing, not just Sweden. But if you want to solve the problem, things must change. But I just worry that, you know, you have an election which one or other party does not like, and you have, you know, mass violence in the streets because things are getting so tense again across Europe. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I think it's like I said. I think radicalised people are always going to be attracted to a party like this. And we are being backed into a corner in Europe. I have days where I'm so angry and I just want to lash out because it feels like the entire establishment are on your side. The media and the politicians and that, and you do get angry and you think we need something a little bit more, like something with a little bit more bite. We don't just need this civic nationalism and this, you know, let's cut immigration to 100,000 a year. It's just rubbish. So I do see why people are interested in a party that are, very strict with their policies. I do see why it appeals to people. One other thing to mention is that I believe all of the other parties that are currently represented in the government at the moment have said that they won't work with the Sweden Democrats. So even if the Sweden Democrats were to get a high percentage of votes, I don't think they could team up with anyone, and get policies through. I think that would be an issue.
Yeah, it's probably going to happen. If the Swedish Democrats get the first place, what's going to happen is probably what happened in Slovenia, I believe. Slovenia, where recently the right-wing party got the main votes, the first place, but they didn't have the seats to form a government. So what happened is that after a long time, the left basically put all the parties together and they formed a coalition, and it's probably going to happen in Sweden too.
Yeah. Sorry, Darth, you go.
No, it's all right. The problem is with that kind of viewpoint of refusing to work with a specific party. If the members of Parliament of Sweden really care about their country, then they will put aside their differences if an upset like that does take place, where a party which has not been in power for a long period of time is put in power. If other parties refuse to work with them, all they are effectively saying is we don't care about our country, and we are quite happy for the country to descend into chaos because we're not getting our way, which I think is an incredibly childish way to run a political system.
Yeah, well, at the moment, the Social Democrats, because they've dropped the number of seats in the 2014 election from the 2010 election, so they've been struggling to get policies through Parliament, and they haven't had support from the Left Party and the Green Party. And I believe that the Sweden Democrats have actually supported the Social Democrats on a couple of bills and laws and stuff in order to help them get them through Parliament. So it is very confusing, actually, how their government's made up. So I think we've covered everything, really. We've gone through the three parties in the current situation. The election is on the 9th of September, so we've got, about 3 weeks to go. Do you guys have any more thoughts on anything or anything you want to add?
No, I think we covered all the most important things, and especially the differences between the main right-wing parties. I mean, we all know what the other leftist parties have been doing and what they plan on keeping on doing. So there is nothing to say about them, I believe.
Yeah, and also if the AFS could get over 4% of the vote, then they would have representation in the government. And I think even if that's not enough for them to pass laws, I think having that voice in Parliament and that voice being publicised could be great in swaying public opinion and sending people our way.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a political party, no matter how small they are, if they have a voice in Parliament, they have to be listened to. They have to be considered, and if they can put across their points in a logical way and not just anger and hysteria, the party members who are kind of in the middle of the fence are more likely to listen to a party that uses a common sense approach as opposed to a hysterical approach. Although, unfortunately, right now in the European parliaments, that doesn't seem to be the case. The hysterical approach seems to be winning. However, I hope that that's going to slowly die out, because there's a reason why more and more countries in Europe are voting with their hearts as opposed to with tyrannical enforcement of diversity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just about shifting the Overton window, isn't it? And getting those topics out there that even if they shock people to begin with, if you keep repeating them over and over, then eventually it becomes acceptable to talk about. So I think we'll wrap it up because we said we were going to do just one topic and keep it short. Anything else to add, you two, or should we call it a night?
No, I think I think the only short thing is you're never going to have one extreme to the other and have, you know, a peaceful resolution. It's got to go kind of through a slow kind of transition, because if you have one extreme to the other, there's going to be a mass amount of uproar. At least that's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, and as you said previously, you gotta start somewhere. And you know, before concluding, I want to say that let's remember that Lega, after basically changed leadership and it went in the hands of Salvini, it was basically a dead party. They were under 10% and mostly aided by, I'm gonna say, let's say not off the country, but very close to that percentage. And look at them now. Wherever Salvini goes, there is people, you know, applauding him, hugging him, kissing him. So people can change their mind. They can be convinced with actions and with coherence. So I strongly believe that if Alternative Sweden gets in the parliament, it's just going to be a snowball effect. It's just going to be the first victory, and it's just going to be a series of victory from there.
So is the AFS the official party of Defend Europa then? Are we backing them?
Yeah, I'll say they're our guys.
They are guys. Okay, cool. Okay, well, I think this format works better, actually, just talking about one topic and keeping it short. So we'll wrap up. If you're listening, thank you for listening. Give us a subscribe on YouTube and a thumbs up, please. Also, if you follow us on Twitter at Defend Europa, that's Europa with a V instead of a U, I'm sure we'll be publishing lots more articles about the Swedish election over the next 3 or 4 weeks until the 9th of September. So, yeah, thanks for listening and bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.